We need to split this piece of wood along the middle here so that we can make this part of the chair. First we're going to use this draw knife here to shave off the bark of the tree so that we can draw the line along where we're going to split it. Now that we've it all lined out, we're just going to come along with the chisel here, line it up along the mark and just make a quick crack the whole way along the line. Once we have the crack the whole way along, then we can just grab our froe, place it above the line and just drive her in. You can see there how it's splitting along the line we set for it. Cracking down on this chisel opens the crack a bit further. As you can see there, the froe fell out, and that just means we can push it in further next time, widening the gap every single time we do it. It's starting to rain now, lads, so we'll make it quick. But I think we finally got it to crack. There we go now. There we go, lads. We have the two separate backs of the chair now. Not even a minute later, lads, and the sun's back out. Never change Ireland. Once we have it split, then the next step is to chuck it into our vise here like this. We can grab our plane. This is a number 4.5, and I'm just going to try to take down the high spots. Spend a few minutes with the jointer plane here, and I think we have it perfectly flat. So if we bring it up here, grab our level, you can see that they fit flush with each other. So we have a fairly flat surface there. And now I'm going to translate the shape of the chair onto this curve. So there we have the shape lined out, lads. Next thing we need to do is come at it with a mallet and chisel just to kind of hog off the big chunks of material before we start our plane. Once we have the bones of it hogged off, we can use our scrub plane just to kind of take off slightly smaller bits. So now that we have the three sizes roughed out, I have a line drawn here. I'm going to throw it in our vise, grab our rip cut saw, and then cut the last side square. I have that side cut, so we put it into the vise now. Grab our jointer plane like this and just get the edge perfectly smooth and flat. Here we have the first leg. You can see there's a few imperfections in it up along here, and we have obviously this big dent in here from where a crack was, and there's one more somewhere just back here. Yeah, this is a live edge, but it's all these perfections, I reckon, that kind of give the chairs their charm. So there'll never be another chair or leg exactly like this one. I have the leg of a chair marked into this piece of beech, and we're going to do it with the help of this rip cut saw all the way from the 1800s. Now it's a big long length of wood to rip through, so we're going to throw the saw into the vise first, grab our triangular file and sharpen down the teeth. We have the teeth razor sharp the whole way along the saw. Now we can line her up again. It's cutting away fine anyway, lads, no fear of it, producing plenty sawdust. Now a drop-in of oil as well into the little cut will help lube up the saw, and it might cut a bit smoother. We're nearing the bottom of the first cut, so I'm just going to stick a chisel in there and see if I can pop it off. There we go now. We'll attack it with the number 5 here, just to get it square to the first reference surface we had. When you're playing down the rough sawn wood, it really shows off the texture of the grain. We're on to the second side now, and we're ripping through 3 inches of each, no problems at all. Back again, howling at the door like pesky clockwork. I'm after bending the saw, lads. See if we can bend it back into shape there now. Almost. We have one last cut ready to do, and it is less than 2 inches thick in most places, so hopefully it'll be faster. I'm after dropping the saw, lads, and it's after breaking there on the handle for me. Hopefully now a bit of super glue will fix her up, but bollocks. We only had a few centimetres to go anyway, so we can probably just pop the rest. There we go. We can use the chisel then along the last part at the end. We'll finish it up then now for the last time with the number 5. That's nearly all the pieces of the chair ready to go now. Hopefully we can start assembling it in the next few videos. I have that glued anyway, so please God now that'll work, or else we'll be on the lookout for a new rip cut saw. Stay tuned anyway, lads. I need to turn this quarter split piece of ash here into a straight piece like this. I start up here at the chopping block, just where I use the axe to hog off all the large material. We have her fairly square now, so I'm going to throw her into the vise. Grab this thing here, it's called a draw knife, and I can use it here, if you can see, to kind of hog away big chunks off of it. And just try not to pop off the handle while we're at it. Then we grab our trusty Stanley number 5, and we just kind of use it to remove all the high spots, and then eventually we start trying to use it to kind of joint the edge. So we have her mostly flat with the number 5, then we grab our number 7 and just kind of joint it so it's got a nice long straight edge to it. So we have one perfectly flat surface now, and we're going to use that as the reference surface. Basically I have my square here, and we're just going to mark off and get the other side square to it. So I think I have the second side square now, so if we line them up we can see that was the first one, and we have her mostly square the entire way along. So it doesn't need to be perfect because it's a Súgán chair, but we have it fairly square. Now that's 3 of the surfaces done, so now we just need to do this live edge here. And there we go, lads. We have a mostly square piece of lumber from a 1/4 split piece of ash. This piece will probably be rounded over and used to make one of the stringers on a Súgán chair, just like this one. So stay tuned. I'm after making a dog's dinner of the chair, lads. Last night in the live stream, I cut a mortise in the wrong place, rendering this entire leg absolutely useless. So I have the axe here now. We're going to head into the forest and see if we can find another bit of beech. That right there is a branch of a beech tree, and that's the trunk up there. It's also right behind the pub we built at the start of lockdown. So last winter when all the pubs were closed, we built our own here in a local forest. And you can see there now, it's a little bit worse for wear. The windows are a bit beat up. The stove stopped working. The place was vandalised a few times, but do you know what? Now it was cosy out in its heyday. Anyway, it looks like we have a bit of birch that'll suit for the leg. We have it now, lads, so we'll throw it up onto the shoulder and bring it back to the car. Oh. There we go now. We'll start by shaving off the bark, then we come along with our hammer and our beater hatchet, and we're just going to line out where along the log we want to make our crack. Hear that? There we go. Nearly ready to split, so pull it apart there like that now. There we go. By the time I have the chair done, I'll have a right arm like I've watched the entirety of Pornhub. I have her in the vice now, which got the last 2 sides. Well lads, we finally have the leg cut out anyway. Now it's time to plane. We have our beloved number 5 here now, and we're just going to spend a few minutes smoothing it out just to get rid of all the saw marks. A few people were asking how long the whole chair would take to make, and I haven't been counting the hours, but we were in the forest this morning at 12 o'clock and we've been flat out working on this ever since, and it's 5 o'clock now, so at a guess I'd say altogether the chair we're talking maybe 20-30 hours like. I felt it was important to share the mess ups, lads. So there you go, let that be a lesson to you now. Measure twice, cut once. Well lads, the chair is nearly ready to be assembled. We have most of the pieces there now, and I have the string bought, so stay tuned. The time has finally arrived for us to start putting together our handmade Súgán chair. We're going to start by connecting the stringers here to the leg with the joint known as a through wedged tenon. It is an ancient joint, and if you look for it, you'll find it all over the place in traditional furniture. First thing we'll do is grab the stringer we squared in one of the recent videos, throw it into our vice, give it a go off the old spoke shave. Back outside now in the sun, lads, and we're going to drill out a mortise through where the marking is here. So we're just going to place it down on the floor, line up our bit, put 1 foot up here, and just start drilling. I've also found that drilling a pilot hole with this little fella here kind of helps the bit and brace go in a bit better. When a tree is first cut down, the wood is full of moisture. Now it can take months or years for the wood to properly dry out. Like this beech here was only cut down a month ago, and you can still feel the fact that it's very wet. So we're making a chair at the minute, and we need this tenon here to fit into this mortise. But since the wood is wet, when they slowly begin to dry over the next few months and years, the joint will become loose. So what we're doing is we have a bit of gravel over the fire here, and I'm just sticking the tenon in the bowl of gravel, and that should dry out the tip of it, so that eventually it's lost all its moisture, it's shrunk to as small as it's going to get, and then when we put it in the tenon like so, or we put in the mortise, it'll slowly kind of clamp down on it as it dries, making it an even stronger, tighter joint. I have a bit of teak here as well, I salvaged from a boat I was fixing, so we're just going to grab our tenon saw here and cut down a little wedge for ourselves. We have our wedge ready to go. Now we can just grab this gent saw here and cut a slit along the stringer for it. Now we can grab our stringer and grab our mallet and just tap them into place. Same goes on the other side. Then we can just line up the other side and hammer it into place. That should kind of widen the gap we made for the wedge. Then we can grab our wedge and slam it into place. Now it's important that the wedge runs perpendicular to the wood instead of parallel, otherwise it'll just split the leg open. Then we can use a really sharp chisel here just to clean off the excess. And that's the first of our through wedged tenons completed. That's the front section done there now. You can see on the contemporary one that was machined that we have perfectly perfect stringers here from the lathe. The true mortise and tenon, the wedges are all perfect, whereas our one here looks more rustic, we'll say, because we've only been using hand tools. So join us next time when we're going to try be doing the back part here. Good luck. After a few setbacks, we finally have the front and the back of the chair done, and hopefully by the end of the day we'll have it looking like our machined one here. Before we can go any further, we need to convert 6 of these into the stringers here, so we just throw them into the vise like this, grab our old spoke shave and just start walking away. Once we have them cut, we can use our drilling tools here to bore out the mortises for them to go into. Once we have the holes bored, then we can just grab our stringers and our mallet and just tap them away into their holes. The stringers going through the back of the chair here need to be wedged, so all that entails is grabbing our chisel and our mallet and just kind of splitting the end open there again, just like this. Then we can remove our chisel, place the wedge in ever so carefully, grab our mallet and just fire away. And grab our coping saw, just take off the excess. We can grab our chisel here like that, just place it down and just hammer like this, just so we can shave off, get it level with the surface. And there we have now a lovely true wedged tenon. Next thing then is to bore the mortises in the hind legs of the chair. The sun's out and the holes are bored, so it's finally time to do the last of our true tenon joints. So I'm just going to line them up here and probably spend about 15 minutes wrestling them into place before I can finally drive them home with the mallet. We finally have it assembled. You can see it's rocky, the legs aren't straight, but when it dries out I'll probably cut it so it sits level, but it's nearly done. All we need to do now is weave the seat. I have a ball of sisal here and I think I'm just going to give it a go. So I start off anyway just by pulling them through the 2 left and right stringers here and just tightening it the whole time. We have it done that way, so I'm going to put in some pins here and line it up and down this way. So you just grab our hammer and a little pin here and we can just tap it into place there. 2 rows of nails there now. Then when I start threading this way, you kind of hook them onto the nails there. That stops you from going the whole way around and saves you a bit of string. At long last, lads, I finally have it finished weaving. So all that's left to do now is bend in the nails so they don't come loose. Time for the inaugural sit. Oh, I've been looking forward to this. It's alright, I guess. I said I'd bring out this other Súgán chair I made last year out of oak. It was made using machinery, very little hand tools. And if you take a closer look, you can see it's a lot more precise. There's plenty of imperfections in the handmade one. I think there's a certain charm to all the imperfections. You can see there that the legs are a bit wonky, but this is true to what it would have been like to have a Súgán chair 200 years ago. This isn't.